Hey loves, I hope you're all doing well. I wanted to hop on and just jam about acceptance today. So, acceptance is such an important part of the process when you are doing the work to heal your relationship with food in your body. So, if we're looking at specifically just body, right? So many of us have learned to attach our worth to our weight, to the way our body looks from a very, very young age, right? And this is something that just keeps getting passed down and passed down. And we get to do the work to break that cycle, which is so powerful. And it can be one of the hardest aspects of this work, because as a culture and society, oh, I was stuttering there. As a culture and society, the messages that we constantly get is that we're not good enough unless we look a certain way. But what that does is it leads to us rejecting our body, right? It leads to us rejecting our body. But the thing is that it's not about our body. It's a much deeper wound. It's this worthiness wound that we're not good enough. And when we attach our worth to things outside of ourselves, and our body is such an easy target in this society, we never actually have access to our innate worth, because when we're rejecting our body, that creates disconnection. And we already are so disconnected from our body in the first place, right? That's why we use food as a coping mechanism, because as a young child, we developed these behaviors to protect ourselves from feeling pain that we didn't know how to handle or manage. And so we just further that disconnection when we hate our body and when we're rejecting our body and not fully accepting our body. And to do any of this healing work, we need to build that connection with our body. And so it starts with acceptance. And when we start to move into that place of acceptance, I always say acceptance is the bridge to connection. Then we can start to access the emotions in our body that we've suppressed. We can start to feel that stuff. And so much of that is what creates this heaviness and this discomfort of being in our body too, right? But when we allow ourselves to be with it, it moves through and it dissolves, and we get to flow with that, right? Because we don't always just feel good. And to feel good, we need to go into the depth of our pain, right? So we have like our emotions on this spectrum with like the pain, the sadness, the heaviness over here, and then we have the joy and the lightness and the love at this end of the spectrum. But when we're numb, we're in the middle and we can't feel anything. So as we start to lean into the pain, we get more access to the love, right? And so when we move into that place of acceptance, we can start to access not only the feeling, but our intuition, right? So for so many years, we have been making decisions from the place of our fear mind, right? That primal part of our mind that just wants to keep us safe and alive, that really, really helped us back in like Neolithic caveman days, right? But now it doesn't allow us to thrive. And when we operate from that place, we're operating from fear. But when we connect back into our body, we get to access love and we get to access our intuition. And our intuition is so, so powerful. And it's always guiding us in the right direction. When we make decisions from love, there's always so much more value in that than making a decision from fear, right? And then we get to start to trust ourselves. We get to start to build trust in ourselves. And also, when we move into that place of acceptance and we build that connection with our body, we also access our inner child. And so much of the reasons as to why we use food as a coping mechanism, those self-sabotaging behaviors, come from an unmet need from our inner child. And so reconnecting with that part of ourselves and building that relationship with her, learning how to meet her needs, learning how to reparent her, is such a powerful part of this healing journey. But it all starts with acceptance, right? And so often when I start working with women, they just feel like they can't accept their bodies yet. And so we start with accepting the part of themselves that hates their body. We start there. So if you can wrap your head around that, accepting the part of yourself that hates your body. Because that part of yourself only hates your body because that's what you've been conditioned to do. Because you feel like your body makes you unworthy. Because you feel like your body has let you down. But your body hasn't let you down because you haven't been connected to your body. So you haven't heard the messages. You haven't been operating and making decisions from felt sense. You've been making them from fear, right? And so that's such an important piece to this work. And it's not just about accepting the body, it's accepting all these parts of ourselves that we've rejected, right? Emotionality, when we start to learn how to feel again and we start to lean into the discomfort, right? Like maybe that unworthiness comes up and you feel so triggered by it and you're just like in that shame spiral. If we just reject that, we're in rejection of that and we're trying to run and we're trying to avoid it, we're trying to fight it, it's going to persist. What we resist persists, right? And so the sooner we can move into acceptance, the sooner we are able to like fully feel that experience and be with it, it moves through and it creates that lightness, right? But when we reject it and we're like stuffing it down with food or whatever other coping mechanisms, it stays in the body and it's going to manifest in some other way, right? We'll get triggered and it will start to rise and then we'll turn to food again. And so this is a journey and a process in learning how to move into that space of acceptance, but it's so, so powerful. So I hope you found that helpful. Let me know where you're at with acceptance and if this is like a different view of acceptance than you've experienced before or heard of before. I would love to hear that. But yeah, it all starts with acceptance. This journey of like growth is not about becoming something that you aren't. It really truly is about accepting all pieces of yourself. Because here's the thing. So often we feel broken. And the reason we feel broken isn't because we are. It's because we're rejecting parts of ourselves and we can't be whole until we include all parts of ourselves. I like to liken it to like a 1,000-piece puzzle. So say we're rejecting that part of ourselves that feels unworthy, right? That's one piece out of 1,000 pieces. There's still 999 other pieces that make up who we are. But we tend to either identify with that piece, right? And think that like that's who we are. And then we spiral down, or we just reject and push it away. But when we can move into just full acceptance that that's a part of ourselves and love it, because that's what those parts of us need to heal, we include it, just like we include that piece of the puzzle becomes whole, it becomes complete. Same thing with us, right? We need to accept all parts of ourselves. It's all about self-acceptance, friends. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and it's happy Friday. The weekend is here, and we'll see you next Friday. I'm going to keep hopping on Fridays and doing a live on different topics. So if you have requests, if you have questions, shoot them my way. I would love to serve in any way that I can. Take care.